Hello Guardians, it is Ebontis here, and we got the Witch Queen ViDoc this morning, and sadly we did not get the story finale for Season of the Lost, so stay tuned for whenever that's going to be. At this point, they're either going to do it on the final week, which is still going to feel weird because Iron Banner is going to be active, and they don't do those two typically together, or it's literally going to be a live event to log in on like Sunday and see the event happen. That's the only two guesses I have left, and at this point, they have to probably just tell us what's going on. Or at least when it's going to happen, because if it's a one-day thing, they should give us warning in advance. If it is a one-day thing, you guys know I will, of course, give you guys heads up in video and everything else. But what I'm going to do is, we've watched this video, broken it down a couple different times, and when I get to a certain point that kind of makes sense to stop and talk about a section like campaign, we know about Season 16, we know about the Throne World, weapon crafting, and a few other details that I'll probably cover in the end. But the main point is, I'm going to let pieces play, and then pause where it seems like a good place to talk about a chunk. So that's the goal. As we go through this thing, you guys will see me. I've seen this like 3 or 4 times, but this is the goal, is to try and give you guys the chunks of information that we have, but also let you enjoy the ViDoc with it.
I know what you're wondering. What is true and what is false?
And this is honestly a pretty good damn place to start talking. Anywhere that we see mission maps or references to campaign, it does say Mars on the screen in a couple different places that we're going to see. Obviously, the red desert of Mars, but also this is like a portal to Savathun or her ship or her throne world. I'm not entirely sure how we're going to get between these two, but this is just reference. Mars is referenced in multiple places, so what part of Mars we're going to go to, we don't know. It's not like they're going to bring back the Mars patrol zones from Destiny 2. It is going to be something different, very much specifically tied to her throne world, so maybe it's just you land and you go through a portal. Doesn't seem like Mars is going to be an explorable planet. It is mostly going to be related to the throne world. So
the Witch Queen is an unsettling mystery. Our biggest foe, Savathun, has our grandest tool, the light.
It's paying off narrative threads that we planted way back in Destiny 1.
I'm here to protect humanity.
How do we stop this?
The stakes in the universe are rising, and it's the greatest challenge that we've ever faced.
We're shedding that dogma of light equals good, darkness equals bad. We're really entering the mists and trying to discern what's in front of us and what's lurking just underneath.
there's a little shot right there. I do want to pause in case you just miss it too fast.
To discern what's in front of us.
So it looks like she is in like a very thin pool of water with kind of a crystal. Couple planets in the background, so she is in some weird level of dimension.
And what's lurking just underneath.
But that moment right there with multiple hive gods that we've seen, or not hive gods, hive worm god looking things. This, I'm guessing, might be a reference back to either the Deep or some old story or a cinematic. Either way, it does seem like the cinematic story telling for Witch Queen is on a different level than we've seen before. That I'm very excited to see.
The surface.
What is your truth now?
There are a lot of bombshells in the Witch Queen narrative. And that's just scratching the surface of what we're going to get into this year.
Yeah, pretty much light and darkness is the big theme. And as you can see, we are going to Mars, but some messed up version of Mars.
Is Chapter 1 and the beginning of the end for the Light and Darkness saga.
We're really getting to the core of what it means to be a guardian. We are looking at and asking big questions about
core is a huge piece of the story, it seems like, which is cool.
Big bad
this is potentially the season-ending event that we haven't seen yet.
In the form of Savathun.
Because this is the Chrysalis, this is the end of Season of the Lost. We still haven't seen what happens yet.
We've been involved with.
But we kind of get a little teaser of what happens, at least visually.
For years, and just bits and pieces, and then like you see it slowly building over seasons until we come to this huge critical point.
Different seasonal pieces that we've had in the past.
Someone you hear about.
She's not just interfering in little ways.
And that moment right there is the one we are all waiting to see. Now, we don't know when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen specifically. There was a bridge that was found in the kind of skybox or farther away part of Astral Alignment. Those pieces have been built over the course of the season, but nobody noticed because nobody was in that activity very much. But apparently there's a bridge that has been being built from one final tower to like a bigger structure. That one apparently is going to be how either the season ends at this point. I'm not sure, but this is obviously a teaser of what's going to be the end of season activity.
She's now ready to take center stage.
So you've got some cool work here on...
Sight. 1, 2, 3.
Basically, you can see him kind of do the modeling for Savathun, the way she moves and reacts. It's kind of like motion capture. It's actually really cool to see.
She's very manipulative. She is very ethereal, but she also has like that creepiness to her as well.
She promised she'd help us out with this pyramid ship problem that's coming our way. But the reality of the situation is Savathun.
This is a very important part, and this is where I'm going to talk about the campaign for mostly what we know. The first mission, we see some piece of Mars. We know that is involved. It's also going to be on a map, which we're going to all show you a pause on in the future. That's probably going to be our way to teleport or get to through some Hive portal, probably to get to the Throne World. But the fact right here that we see Zavala, we know Ikora is huge. You've got Shax, Annabray, Saint 14. We don't have Osiris, so we still don't know his fate. Eris Morn, and also Saladin. In one frame, we've never had this many NPCs discussing. Anna was very far removed on Europa. She's actually in the mix and at the tower. Saint 14 is still pining after Osiris, and we still don't know his fate, at least technically as of right now, even though most people speculate he's dead. Eris, of course, her ties into the Hive is very huge. I don't know if I've ever seen Shax in a cutscene. He's your Crucible guy. The fact that he's standing there is awesome. Saladin was part of Season of the Chosen, and he actually plays into Season 16, which when we get to that, I'll take a pause and discuss. And then Ikora is talking to Zavala here as well. And then your Guardians off there to the left-hand side of the screen in their armor. But for me, it's exciting to know that we're getting into a big enough piece of story that this many characters are involved. You've got very big names on pretty much every level, and we also have a really cool season to tie with it to go along with the big campaign. The other pieces we know about the campaign, they're going to have difficulties, which I'll kind of touch on a little bit, but I'll tell you guys, you got normal and legend difficulty. They appear to be the same level, but we're going to see different modifiers, different rotating enemies kind of on a weekly basis, maybe daily. I'm not sure how they're going to manage those. As I said, huge amount of NPCs. And then also you've got a campaign that they try and describe as having ties to exotic missions and dungeons. Things are going to have more raids, more puzzles. It's not just going to be shoot these guys and defend this thing. A lot of our campaigns have been a lot of that. I think there's going to be a lot more to this campaign, as they keep saying it is the Destiny campaign. They are going all in on this one. So it does feel that the campaign is probably one of the coolest that we're ever going to see in Destiny 2. And hopefully all the campaigns following are to that level with the support of Sony. Maybe that'll help a little bit. But either way, I'm very excited to see basically what the campaign is, what secrets they're all excited about, and what they've kind of built for us to experience. I don't expect this to be anything small. I think this is going to be one that has, maybe it may not be the longest, but the lasting effect should be very cool.
Is only on Savathun's side. We've outlived our purpose, and it is to Savathun's benefit to wipe us off that chessboard.
She's lived among us. She has played us for fools. She knows us inside and out. And she's been a step ahead of us, like, the whole way. So how do you beat someone like that?
It isn't too late.
This
You can
is
still be forgiven.
the start of Season of the Lost.
Be careful.
I'll hold you to it.
And that's Savathun, who has basically masqueraded as Osiris. And this is the Throne World. So there's going to be different pieces of the Throne World as we get to it, and I'll try and touch on the aspects that we see. This specific part you see is the very white looking color-wise, very bright, very vibrant. This is the piece of the Throne World that I think Savathun is trying to embrace and be the most of, because they describe it, and you'll hear the quote a little later, as the Throne World is a representation of her mind going through kind of a transformation. And you have the transformation from the dark, the parts of the world that she's trying to suppress. The swampy areas, the underbelly, kind of the fiery underground sections. We know the raid is going to take place on a pyramid ship out there in the swamp, something even farther that she's trying to either repress or push away. And then you turn around and have this, the complete juxtaposition from the dark, swampy, bad nature to something bright and while she's embracing the light. So you have these two opposing ideals going on in her mind. So I think it's very intriguing to see what happens when we either help or hurt or fight all of these ideals that she's dealing with. But again, this is kind of one of the main aspects of the Throne World and why you're going to notice the difference between the areas looking so vastly unlike each other.
Her throne world is a manifestation of Savathun's own personality, which is in Witch Queen going through a transformation through the light.
She has
these areas that she's kind of trying to shun and push away. For the old Hive areas, it's much more atmospheric, it's very dense, it's very claustrophobic, it's spooky. Then when you make your way into the Lucent Hive area, it's a...
And that's the difference. I mean, I gave you a little warning. Now when you hear them explain it, probably a little better than I did, but you can actually know it going in. So now you know what to look for. You're in the Lucent Hive. That's what they're calling this main white fortress area with, you know, all of these structures, the flowers, everything that's vibrant versus the darkness, the pyramids, the underground, the swamps. Very different looks, very different feels to the areas of this world.
A lot more open and broad. It's definitely brighter. It's definitely more lively.
We want people to look at it like an impressionist painting, something that's very pretty from far away, but as you get closer, it's not really what it seems. It's very unsettling.
If you want a picture of one of the new weapons, all of these have this alchemical theme to them. You'll see, like, whether it's the stock, the barrel, this big little, like, tube on it. This is like a little tiny sidearm, but this also ties into the mysteries, the secrets. These little statues seem to be all kind of bundled up, and then every so often it'll be like, it'll point. And it's potentially guiding you through puzzles, telling you where to go. There's also some either ability we're going to have where we're actually going to be able to see different areas, kind of the same way you pop a tincture on the Dreaming City. Similar things are going to apply, that we're either going to be seeing things that we can't, or we're able to follow, you know, directions that maybe we couldn't see before.
You're looking at shapes, you're looking at these things within the world, and you're not entirely sure what they are, and you have to get close and you have to investigate.
What's really going to be exciting for players is that they're going to get to play that part of psychic detective.
So this, I had speculation that that was actually Ikora, but most of my chat told me it's probably just another Guardian. But you have some interaction at this, you know, you could say investigation board that you've got up here. Seems like this is going to be potentially an NPC interaction. If that is Ikora, she's wearing something we've never seen him in before. But if this is kind of a place to interact with an NPC, maybe it is her. Still not sure, but when we get closer,
the many mysteries of the throne world,
you can actually get a good look of all the mysteries we've got.
Witch Queen campaign, I think, is probably the most ambitious campaign we've made in a very long time.
This is exciting.
We're building the Definitively Destiny campaign, so leaning into the journey you can find in exotic missions or the mechanics you might find in a dungeon.
And that's, I think, what's most exciting to me about a campaign. We've got replayability we already know about, which we'll see here in a second, and the fact that you've got puzzles and things of that nature to really make this replayable campaign more than just point and shoot. Which, for me, if I'm going to spend time in an activity at an extended period of time, I like to have it more interactive, more aggressive enemies, more puzzles to deal with. All of those things making this campaign something worthwhile to go revisit sounds very exciting, personally.
You have to kind of think your way through. You have to figure out, like, hey, what do I need to do next in orher to get to the end of this?
That's that
Savathun,
ability,
right?
that
The
insight
Queen of
ability,
Lies.
where you're going to be able to see
this
things that you
campaign is
potentially
full of
don't.
surprises.
Savathun has all these abilities, and you got to make sure that all of the abilities of the bosses would be something worthy of her. And as I kept thinking about this, you know, I felt like I was really becoming Savathun.
Okay, this is probably our first little shot. So on the left-hand side of the screen is the Enclave. That is where weapon crafting takes place. Now, I don't know if the Enclave is actually bigger, but that's the left-hand side of the map. Now, it says like ARS, but that says Mars when you pause it on the right frame. But also, Datto and Cacus, and I don't know if anybody else got a chance to basically be on a call with Bungie, a Zoom call. They got kind of exclusive access to kind of see an early mission. Datto basically said the Enclave is not on Mars, but it's on Mars. So I don't know exactly what that means, but you can speculate all you want for the next 2 weeks, but it is exciting to know that there's still some mystery, even with a map telling us one thing. Even the campaign says Mars. So it is weird, but you can notice the recommended power is 1360. You start the game at 1350. So it is going to be lower level than you would actually probably expect.
We've also...
And then this is actually really cool. You'll see 1360 is also the legend difficulty. We're going to have modifiers. You will face harder missions and stronger combatants, recommended for experienced players with a broad arsenal to draw upon. Champions, Lucent Brood that you're going to fight, difficulty and modifiers. We're going to see all of those.
Legendary difficulty, which is...
Now this right here,
We've also added the legendary difficulty.
To me, this is one of the coolest things I think they've done in Destiny for a while. If every mission that you got to play in a campaign had a screen just like this one, I would like alone be happy to go and boot this thing up because this image looks amazing. So you've got a picture of the Lucent Brood, and this lets me talk about them for a little while. So you've got what looks to be a Hive Knight with 2 shields. 1, 2, it can smash them together, kind of do that pushback smash, probably kill you. They're also going to be able to throw a shield. It looks like they have almost a Sight and Ramparts barricade. They're very powerful. The Acolyte, which looks like a hunter, is going to be the one with the solar throwing knives. So either doing blade barrage, throwing knives, definitely very powerful there. And then in the back, you've got the Arc Wizard. Looks very Stormcaller, Embracey of that nature. And then you have the Guardians up here in the front. On the left, you can notice we have different modifiers we've never seen. So you've got a red icon, which maybe that's just the legend difficulty. So it's harder, more champions, who knows what it's going to be. Looks like you've got normal modifiers like Chaff and Iron Skin. Specific modifiers for whether it be Scions or, you know, enemies die and they leave fire on the ground or whatever those modifiers are going to be. And then we probably also have that little like skull. The skull, which is probably going to represent like the Lucent Hive or the Hive Guardians. Probably when you're going to face these at a higher difficulty. So just the fact that you see missions that have screens like this, I'm excited. Now, I don't know if it's always just going to look like this or if different missions have different pictures, which I do hope they do. Either way, I just love this art and wanted to point it out.
Which is called Become Legend.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's going to be loaded with these moments that are going to be frustrating, almost like teeth gnashing. But when
and if you're wondering, this little thing on screen, that's basically eye tracking, in case you were wondering as well.
As people who have worked on raids and dungeons before, being able to broaden that experience for any kind of player who comes in is really important.
That is the Scorn guy. I'm not sure why we're killing him. His head looks a little different, but Scorn are on the throne world. We've already seen that. And again, this is maybe some weird representation of Savathun trying to fight back the darkness, but some part of the darkness is still hanging on.
If the Witch Queen is the psychic detective, fantasy, and journey, then Season of the Risen is that same detective throwing on their flak jacket and defending Earth from the Hive Guardians and the Lucent.
So, Season of the Risen is Season 16. What we know about it basically so far is pretty much we're going to be asking for help or assistance, or at least call on that alliance we've got from Caiatl. From Season of the Chosen, obviously she is, you know, kind of doing her own Cabal thing. She's got an alliance with us after we did prove ourselves to her. And we are trying to ask for her help in fighting these now Hive Guardians that Savathun has risen. Season of the Risen. You've got Crow, Saladin, and Zavala kind of involved in the story along with us and Caiatl. You've got this tusk armor look here that you can see on screen. So you've actually got the tusks on the armor. There's a couple different shots that we've seen in different trailers that actually do show that this is probably going to be the armor from the season. And also the ornaments that come from a picture, which I'll show you guys towards the end, actually look really cool as well. But both armor sets from this season, kind of excited to see that we can really embrace the Cabal to an extent. And the seasonal exotic weapon, which they touch on, is very Cabal heavy for a reason. They also mention we've seen little iconography for the artifact. It's a lance, it's a spear, and that I'll show you guys in the final picture. Whatever it is, it's electrified, and there's some mechanic where you actually get to use the seasonal artifact to either kill, wound, break shields, something. There's a gameplay mechanic to the seasonal artifact, more than just it sitting in the box on your screen of your inventory. So it's exciting to see we actually get a new kind of gameplay mechanic with Season of the Risen, and it does seem to be tying into your artifact, which will sit in your inventory, but also feels like you're going to run around and throw or stab with it as well. So very cool, kind of exciting to see that we get. I enjoyed the Caiatl season and Chosen very much, so I'm glad to see we're going to go back and revisit that. We've actually got more of Crow coming in. I was hoping he wasn't going to be just left to the wayside. So this is kind of a good culmination. There's a lot of story pieces going on right now, and most of the NPCs are involved when we kick off this expansion.
And Hive and Savathun herself.
When Savathun shows up on our doorstep with the light, the first person to lend us help is Caiatl.
You want us to hit them?
I need us to hit them.
She's got this light suppressing technology that the Cabal were using in Season of the Chosen, and now she's going to help us use that against the Lucent Hive.
When you're working with Caiatl,
it's a big gun, by the way.
It's not about asking questions, it's about getting in there and extracting.
We don't really
so the scene coming up is where you're going to see him running around in this weird astral form.
So the campaign
kind of like Cloaky, throwing this little spear out.
Guardians need to stop Savathun's advance beyond the throne world. And Savathun.
So this is kind of a good piece here where you can see you've got probably almost like the transition from the swamp. This area looks almost like the normal grassy areas of the EDZ, but this will be the throne world. And then behind it, you've almost got where we're kind of transitioning into the Hive white-colored fortress thing. This almost looks like that transition point we're actually shooting. Also looks like kind of an arc auto rifle we got here as well.
Poses an existential threat to everyone because she basically has an undead army.
And those are all the Lucent Guardians that we talked about before, the Hive Guardians. So you've got Hive Wizard, looks like Hive Arc Wizards, should say Void Knight, and then Solar Acolyte with all those different abilities that you can probably tie into those supers.
In fighting the Lucent Brood, this isn't our first time in the game fighting other light bearers, but it is the first time that we'll be facing other light bearers that have much more relentless motives.
When you look at these Hive Guardians,
this guy is awesome. I love his
abilities,
enthusiasm always, so I'm just going to shut up for a minute.
Like, oh, they are using my powers against me. As soon as we see the Knight pop its super and it has 2 shields, you immediately are like, oh yeah, I see that connection. And then it's like, and then you're like, it hits you with those things and then you're dead. And it's just an amazing experience.
That guy's enthusiasm is 100% infectious. So David Samuel, there's an even emote of him of like his glasses bouncing up and down or something. He is just one of the most enthusiastic dudes I've ever seen in a ViDoc, and I always love seeing him in there, so I just wanted to point him out.
Guardians themselves kind of feel like a fire team that you're fighting against. You got every class represented.
The Acolyte, when that character casts, does very similar thing as the player, like the Arc Wizard. The sparks go out, it's ready to go. If you're not smart about it, if you're not paying attention, you are essentially going to have to play that fight over again.
If you're successful in taking down one of these Hive units that are wielding the light, you actually have to go up and kill their ghosts.
That was like one of my favorite things that we were able to do in this game, is just that moment where you crush the ghost.
So this is one piece to discuss. One person in my chat saying they were kind of hoping they could experience this for the first time. So if you want to tune out, I'll give you about 30 seconds to probably squeeze this in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Basically what happens is, it is now confirmed you do actually have to go crush a Hive Ghost to stop it from respawning, just like we do. But they say the first time you do that, you're holding a ghost. There's this moment of kind of like self-reflection of killing a ghost, knowing it's permanent. So then when you kill it, you have this kind of moment where you look at your hand like, what did you just do? But anyway, just wanted to point that out. They say it is kind of shown as a little moment, and it is. Ghost is permanent. Just kind of one of those things just to pay attention to when it happens.
It's kind of this moral dilemma. A ghost is your companion, and now suddenly you have one in your hand and you're about to crush it.
The first time that happens, you're like looking at your hand like, I can't believe what I've just done. Am I doing this? Should I be doing this?
I have a ghost.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What is going on?
Savathun and her Lucent Brood are the most dangerous enemies we've faced so far. And so we're going to...
That shot right there should tell you everything you need to go. Fire, Arc, Void, all basically Hive Guardians that we're going to face. Hive Guardians can pop their supers, which you've already seen them basically do, but it's going to pop on your timeline. So if the Arc Wizard pops the Stormcaller super, or whatever they're going to have it called, you need to run and probably get away for however long that thing lasts, because a super, just like usual, is probably going to kill you very quickly. So any point of defense that you've got, any way to stay alive, any way to be mobile and move, when a super gets popped from a Hive Guardian, it is going to be an important thing to pay attention to. Higher difficulties, I'm probably going to die a lot.
Need better, more powerful weapons and tools to fight against that threat.
We did a bunch of work early on looking at various different types of weapons we could add to the sandbox.
We wanted to
This is a big dive on the glaive.
Special weapon archetype that was effective more at a middle range, but also had these kind of additional roles associated with it. The glaive is a projectile weapon, and it is a shield, and it's a melee weapon. We wanted to keep that experience in first person.
So that's a good
It has
idea
an
of the
immediacy that
animation
you don't really get
hit
when you're
combo that
using
you
a
can
sword,
get with
because
the
camera
melee.
is so much further back. Because this is also a projectile weapon with a slower moving projectile, the onus of skill on aiming these weapons is about leading and compensating for the speed of the projectile and anticipating that.
Seems like you might have about 6 ammo in your magazine at a time, so not a ton, but some.
Somewhere out in the open where you normally wouldn't be able to.
This is important.
You can bring that shield up and actually get the revive and then fall back.
Now, one thing to note about the glaive itself, while this is a pretty good place to stop, as they said, it has melee, so it's a first-person melee weapon. There's like different combos, so it's like stab, hit him in the backside, smash it over the top, kind of combinations could be one of them. It also has a projectile. I think we've seen like 6 in the magazine. They are craftable weapons, both the exotic ones that are class-specific and the other ones that you're going to be able to craft with different perks. And then you've also got the shield. The shield is going to be something that you have to charge up. It's not going to be available, I think, all the time. So you're either going to have to get kills or time, whatever it is. The shield is probably not active all the time. I think that's going to come after, you know, a cooldown of some nature.
Glaives originate with Savathun trying to steal an extremely powerful weapon for her own use, and players will use the weapon crafting recipes that they find throughout the campaign in order to reconstruct this incredibly powerful and incredibly ancient weapon.
When you put together your glaive in the campaign, you just get a taste.
Now we're getting into weapon crafting.
The rest of the weapons that you get.
Weapon crafting lets you target a specific role and go and build that.
Okay, so this is going to be when we're going to get into weapon crafting. I'm going to cover what I know and then kind of pause on a couple points. You can see the 2 different styles. You've got the Witch Queen weapons. That's the main stuff that we've seen so far throughout the trailers and the style and shape of them. You've also got the Season of the Risen weapons. They do have that Cabal look to them with a little shininess and then kind of the blue marbly undertones that we're going to see here. And this is the idea. You're going to be able to shape different weapons. Now, it doesn't say hand cannon on this list. It may not say trace rifle on the next list. Not every single weapon is going to be available for crafting from the get-go, but in future seasons, they're going to be adding more older weapons and more new weapons that are both tied into weapon crafting. So this is going to be something that lasts for a while. And honestly, the systems behind it are looking to be very, very cool and long-term investment nature.
You know how long it's going to take you to get there, and you get exactly the thing.
Now, just for those of you guys that are wondering, you've got sniper rifles, Father Sins facing this way, Thoughtless facing this way. One's an energy, one's a kinetic. I don't know which is which. But there's another, for Datto and Cacus's videos, when you go to look at them later on, go check those out because they got some details not all of us got to see. There's potentially a Stasis fusion rifle coming. So just keep that in mind because it has to shoot projectiles. So it's either going to be a kinetic legendary Stasis rifle, which I would be surprised because that feels like an exotic, or it's going to be a Stasis fusion rifle, which would make more sense. So just keep in mind, more things are going to be changing.
I really want to see what people do with it and like the feedback.
So here's the screen that we actually get to see. There's 2 different moments where I do want to actually pause it. This is one where you can actually see when you're looking through the magazine perks, which ones you can do. And this will tell you a couple things. You can see some of them are locked. So you can level the weapon from level 1 to level 20. They said they don't want it to be horribly grindy, but you are going to need to spend some time with the weapon to get through all 20 of those weapons. I hope it's not just go sit in the throwaway and kill stuff, but we will just have to see what that takes. But you're only going to be able to put perks on a weapon that they already have. I'm not going to be able to put Rampage on every single weapon. There's a reason they have that in specific places. But if an auto rifle does have that Rampage perk as an option, it's something I can, for one, work on unlocking, which we've covered in previously weapon crafting, where you have to get the resonance weapons to kind of unlock that perk from another weapon, so then you can take that resonance and then put it into the actual shaping of the weapon and make a new one. So it is going to be a process to unlock other perks. But it is also a thing where you have to level up the weapon to be able to even choose those perks. You'll notice you have like neutral element for a currency here. There's a few other currencies that you might see in a future moment where I pause it. Any currency related to weapon crafting will not be in your inventory. So you're not going to have golf balls or things kicked out. It's just going to go straight into your inventory. It may be capped, but it is one of those things that you won't ever have to worry about it being picked up or it going to a currency or a postmaster or anything like that. It is just going to be tracked in a separate nature. I wish they would do that for like golf balls and other things, but you know, can't ask for everything at the same time.
That we're going to get and people sharing all of the things.
Now, before I go farther, I do want to get that little moment.
People sharing.
Now this, I'm going to have to go a little bit of a pause for frames here. This is just a good image to show you guys an example of this. So these are the main 2 traits everybody cares about, number 3 and number 4. And what you can notice is every perk is listed twice. One is a normal perk that you can unlock, and then you've also got an enhanced version. So take one like Subsistence, for example, and basically if you unlock Subsistence, you can put it on there. Maybe at a higher level, 18, 19, 20, who knows, towards the end of the magazine, you unlock Subsistence Enhanced. What that's probably going to do is instead of putting, what is this on? This is a glaive, so it's probably a bad example. Glaive Subsistence might put 1 round back in the magazine, but if you go Enhanced Subsistence, maybe it puts 2 back in the magazine, so it's more sustainable. Basically, the enhanced perks are going to do a little bit more of whatever they already do. Feeding Frenzy. What does it give you? Faster reload with more kills? Well, it's probably going to be even faster, and you're going not major differences, but if you spend time with a weapon and you unlock it, there's going to be no reason not to use those enhanced perks because they are just straight up going to be better. So getting those enhanced perks is going to be the long-term grind for any of the weapons that you go for, and generally exciting to know that there's a long-term grind in weapons you like, and you can work on grinding towards and building your personal god roll, and if you have other stuff unlocked, you probably will be able to switch it out too. You're not going to be locked in forever and have to start over.
You're doing with that new system.
Now this, sorry for the pixelation, I do want to check that real fast.
It and like the feedback that we're gonna
Sorry.
get, and
doing this player sometimes it gets a little pixelated. Okay, so this moment right here has a couple cool things on it. So this is a glaive, so you can actually see it. You've got the impact of 80, the range, the shield duration, handling, reload speed, rounds per minute. Magazine, as I said, was 6. You can see the weapon over on the right-hand side of the screen saying level 1, brand new weapon. Now, it says TD. If that's when you actually created the weapon, then in theory, there's going to be a date on there. But that also seems like a development placeholder thing. So I don't expect your date of creation to probably stay around. But what you also notice, you actually get to see the functionality of the glaive. Hybrid melee ranged polearm with a frontal shield generates energy, I think, for the shield on dealing range damage. So you're probably going to have to use the projectile to charge up the shield. And then you've also got the kinetic melee combo if you're just pressing like the attack button. So you've got the projectile you fire, the kinetic melee as your melee punch when you're holding it, and then holding down left trigger for the shield to walk in, do what you got to do. And this is even a glaive that has kill clip. This is a new perk. I'm not entirely sure what is. And then you've also get to see the origin trait. You have a whole bunch of circles around that eye. That's one of the origin traits. Depending on where the weapon comes from, it's going to have an intrinsic trait. So honestly, I can tell you most of the weapons from Season 16 and Witch Queen onwards are just going to be better than your old ones because they have chances at crafting. They have the origin traits of where you get them from and the different options, and also chances at new perks. So while a Subsistence Rampage Chroma Rush that you've got right now is going to serve you for a time, there's a point where it is eventually going to get outdated. It's kind of the natural sunsetting by making stuff slightly better that you're probably going to eventually want. I can't tell if this is like a Trials glaive, what the origin perk is from, but I did want to point these out as well.
With that new system, you're creating your Guardian, and you want to be able to shape your Guardian into what you want them to be. And this gives us a great opportunity to continue to do that.
I'm very excited to use that thing, see how it feels.
Season for weapons in particular.
That's Parasite, by the way, in case you didn't know. That's the Hive worm sitting in the middle. I don't know if it's a charge or like maybe the bottom part of the magazine does more damage. I'm not entirely sure, but it says increasing damage and it fires the worms as a projectile. Still don't know what increases the damage.
Got 8 brand new exotics.
That's a big boom.
The Osteostreaker exotic submachine gun.
This one looks very cool. Okay, one other piece about, you can see most of the currencies here. They've talked about crafting to have exotic crafting. Basically, the idea behind exotics is tweaks. So you'll notice you've got the main perk with that like little smiling skull and a little bit of fire. You've got a stock perk over to the right, and then you've got like steady rounds and polygonal rifling. Those are probably the little tweaks if you picture out some of the random rolls that we've had on Deadman's Tale and Hawkmoon. Those type of things are going to be the randomness or the tweaking you can do, but you're not going to be able to completely change what the exotic perk actually does. But you actually get to see the submachine gun has 78 range, which I think is mostly coming from a little bit from the polygonal rifling. The stability is getting it from polygonal rifling, and then also the steady rounds. The stock may be doing a little, but the exotic submachine gun with 78 range and 75 stability on this roll at least, it's definitely going to have some potency. You can also see some of the crafting currencies. Ascendant Alloy. I'm assuming this is probably going to be as rare as Ascendant Shards, because of it says 10, you have 10 of them and you're using 1. That's probably going to be just for your exotic weapon crafting. So it's going to be probably a rare resource. Resonant alloy. I think that's what we get from all the resonance red outlined weapons that you're going to find in the wild to unlock perks and get that alloy. The neutral element also seems like a very, you know, abundant resource because there's like 2,300 of it needed here. And then the ruinous element instead of the natural or the neutral element, that one does seem like they have a lot of it again as well. Not entirely sure where that one comes from, but the rarity of that is at least legendary versus like green is uncommon. So these are some of the currencies you're going to be working for, but the game is going to track all of these, which is nice. You're not going to have 4 more things in your inventory.
Something which Guardians have made, but it's modeled after Weapons of Sorrow, like Thorn and Touch of Malice. Fires swarms of
very
tiny
cool looking
projectiles that land on a target and then explode in this poison burst. We have an exotic machine gun where the whole idea is be the Colossus.
That, I don't know if that's going to be my thumbnail, but I'm just going to save a picture and go ahead and just say it might be. This is a good picture of both the exotic armor, or the, not exotic armor, the tusks on the armor, but also this is the slug launcher that also charges into a full auto missile thing. And they say you can have up to 20 missiles, which they say is a ridiculous amount of projectiles on screen. It just looks very cool overall, but just the fact I think it's going to be the more you use it with the normal type of killing, when you go for that missile barrage, if you charge it up fully, you are going to unload, well, up to 20 missiles, but just a ridiculous barrage of damage.
You can launch a barrage of
that, and the armor looks very cool here too.
It's a comical amount of projectiles on the screen.
We're doing an exotic glaive for each class this time, and the exotic perks tie deeply into the mechanics of the classes. I think they're going to be really
So you've got
cool
the bubble from the
additions to
Titan, this chain lightning from the Hunter, healing turret from the
usual
Warlock.
suite of raid weapons, destination, activity, seasonal. I recounted it this morning. I think it's about 50 new weapons.
There you go. About 50 new weapons between, I think I've heard about 42 legendaries, probably some exotics thrown on top of that, but 50 weapons for an expansion with crafting involved as well. You're going to have plenty of time to invest in these weapons, get the tweaks exactly where you want them. I'm actually excited that we have that much different stuff to work with in this expansion.
You're going to have 2 new exotic armor for each class, totaling 6, 1 stasis, 1 non-stasis. The Titan stasis exotic. Cast your barricade, and instead of, you know, this...
I'm going to let these guys cover this.
In the rally barricade, you create a giant wall of ice. Even though this thing is massive, you still get all the benefits of a rally barricade.
That's cool. So for each class, you have 3 stasis exotics and then 3 non-stasis exotics. Titan 1, for example, is this big barricade, but also still gives you the benefit of rally barricade, which is cool.
Warlock Void exotic, we called them the Devouring Rift.
These sound amazing for
Warlocks.
Warlocks.
Empowering Rift to feel like it had a place in endgame content the way that Healing Rift does. Empowering Rift doesn't heal you. Well, what if it did?
So that's the idea. These exotic boots seem ridiculous because they take an Empowering Rift and allow you to heal yourself, and then they take a Healing Rift and allow you to... No, that's actually a different thing. Either way, your Empowering Rift helping with Devour. I think these are the Devouring Rift boots. Yeah, Devour just got even more powerful, but Void 3.0 is amazing. That's all good things. And again, there's the Warlock set. I love this armor set. You've got the purple, the Cabal themes, a little bit of the gold jewelry look, and then you've got the tusks all over it. This armor set looks legit fantastic, especially the robes and everything. You may not like the tusks, but everything else is going to look pretty good looking for any of you who enjoy armor ornaments.
In Season 16, you're going to see a massive revamp to the Void subclass system
This.
across all 3 classes. This is a huge update and will allow players to...
And this is the one thing I do want to say right now that we know about the Void subclass specifically is that all grenades are now universal. Literally all of them. So you've got spike grenades, void wall grenades, vortex grenades, suppression. Everybody can use suppression now. That's not just a Titan thing. Scatter grenades. Now, you can still have tweaks like the Void Walker subclass can charge up that grenade and make it more powerful. Every class gets to use every grenade. So that is the thing. And remember, fragments are also going to be something that you're going to work on unlocking. They said for the light subclasses, these aren't going to be quite as crazy as the stasis subclasses because a lot of us have played Arc for Void for a while. So if you've got a lot of the Void stuff already done, like your characters are fully decked out and you've played for a while, they said some of the basics like the grenades should be pretty quick to unlock with just some materials over at Ikora, I think they said. Aspects and fragments could take a little longer to unlock, but you're going to have some tweaks. Melee final blows grant grenade energy. The aspects sound really cool, so I'm going to let them talk about those, give you a couple more before we get to the end.
Buildcraft in ways that they've never done before.
One of the things we wanted to do is create a core set of verbs like we did with Stasis.
Okay, so they got a couple aspects here. Child of the Old Gods, he mentions here in a second, but this is the one that I mentioned that, like, the rifts for Warlocks are going to be just amazing. When you cast your rift, you create a Void Soul. When you damage a target, that little Void Soul flies out and drains them, and you'll get to see it, but it's a little easier for me to describe it, and then you can watch what happens. It's going to do damage and weaken them. So 2 things already. When a target is being drained, you are granted grenade and melee energy if you're standing in a healing rift. So you get ability energy if you're getting healed from your rift. If you're standing in empowering rift for damage, you get health back when that little thing's out there. So you're always going to be healed one way or the other by your rift. Defeating a target who is being drained by a Void Soul grants class ability energy, so your rift that you used, you get more rift energy back. The cycle of Void 3.0 sounds like it's going to be really crazy, so what they do with Solar and Arc, I'm very excited to see, and they talk about that a little bit towards the end. Yo, shout out real quick, I know we're recording a video. Pigeon, thank you for the massive raid. Can we please get a shout out in chat? This is going on YouTube, but shout out to Pigeon. If you don't watch Pigeon on Twitch, please do. P-I-J-I-N-N-N. Go find him on Twitch. Awesome dude.
Anyone can run suppressors now. I think that's the pretty cool thing to be able to do.
I'm going to be running suppressor grenade probably.
We wanted you to feel like you were the energy vampire. Feel like you were the Night Stalker. Feel like you were
we are recording.
The big Sentinel Titan. So you're going to see things like Bastion, a new Titan aspect, where you take your big old Sentinel shield, slam it into the ground, and create this void barricade that's going to apply overshield to you and your buddies.
My favorite aspect is probably
this is the Warlock one. That's what they've shown the most.
Controlling space and time, I'm able to rip a hole into another dimension and then pull out this little like
there's your little soul.
Hole. Whenever I target an enemy, my little black hole buddy is going to fly over there and start draining their life force.
The Void 3.0 update is really setting the stage for how we're thinking about updating the subclasses for the rest of the year.
We're going to extend this philosophy to Solar and Arc. Solar obviously is going to be about burning, but
also healing,
and that's healing. Arc is all about chaining. It's all about lightning, direct attacks, quickness. We're going to take the fantasies that you know and love today. We're going to embellish them. So what you'll see is like all of the new abilities, all the new actions.
It's just cool to see that everybody's going to have access to suppression grenades. Titans are actually going to have a shield throw melee. There's another melee that was mentioned. I've got to find where that was. So it's called Pocket Singularity. It's a new melee for the Warlock, so they're getting a couple tweaks. So while there may be 1 or 2 things like double grenades in some places that may get some shifts, overall, you're unlocking, getting new things, and a lot more customization to just about everything to your Void subclass. And then when they do everything to Solar and then Arc, you're really going to be able to have some custom builds that we've been waiting on for a while. And by the time we're done with this year, it is honestly going to be crazy.
Actions you take reinforce that to the core. Pretty excited about it.
I'm glad they beefed it so I don't have to.
Witch Queen is very much the culmination of the last 6 to 7 years of just Destiny altogether. And really, this is starting the road to the final showdown. But things aren't necessarily just dark and light anymore. There's a lot more nuance in the game.
It's going to be a real fight. Players have something that they're really going to be challenged by.
I can't wait for everyone to find out what's been going on with Savathun. Like, I'm excited.
That's probably... Sorry, that was a really bad place to pause on a white screen. But that's actually what I'm probably most excited about. What the story of Savathun is, her throne world, if this is going to be a year-long arc, if we actually defeat her, ally with her. I really don't know, but I cannot wait to get into the campaign and see what the heck they do with her.
Aliens are so clever, aren't you?
From the throne world to the campaign to the customizable build crafting, it all comes together to make Destiny feel really new and fresh.
We've got more Destiny coming this year than any other year before.
That's actually a bold statement. More Destiny coming this year than any year before. If you picture Forsaken's year, when they had multiple studios working with them, you had Season of the Forge, Season of the Drifter, and then Season of Opulence. You had a lot of stuff that happened. You got another raid in there. We know another raid is coming. We get 2 dungeons this time. We've got the campaign, the seasonal activities. It's going to be a really good year to be playing Destiny. So if you like this game, strap in. You're in for a pretty fun year. Don't take that out of context, by the way. I know who I'm talking to.
It's one of the most ambitious releases we've ever put together, and the team is firing on all cylinders.
Tell me, Guardian, What do you think you're going to do?
So to no surprise, they know how to make a trailer, and I think that's most everything information-wise that's in there. So I know this was a long one, but I kind of gathered, there was like 4 different articles that came out. Datto did a video, Cacus did a video, and I think that's just about everything. The campaign looks on another level. Season 16, you've got a cool mechanic with the artifact, and also they even mentioned in Season 16, like the origin trait that's going to come from weapons from that season. It's called Land Tank, and basically it's the opposite of Rampage. You've got increasing damage resistance and resilience after you get kills. So normally if you get kills with Rampage, you get more damage. With Land Tank, if you get kills, you are now harder to kill because you have more resilience and more damage resistance. So again, they are making unique perks that are really going to basically just change the way you play. I'm very excited to see what they do with all this stuff. Weapon crafting is looking more and more exciting. The potential for a long-term path to your god roll is better than RNG would ever be. Yeah, you could get lucky and get a good roll, but again, the next weapon you're going for, could have a sucky RNG version. Now the fact that you get a direct path, there could be some use and grind to it, sure, but they're going to give you more activities and stuff to do. Overall, if you can't tell, I'm very excited for Witch Queen. Obviously, I'm going to be hyped for a new Destiny expansion, but I think this time, this is not going to be another Beyond Light. This is not going to be Stasis coming out overpowered and other things. Void 3.0 may be busted in PvP. It sounds like it's got some potential to be, but I still can say with all that we've got going on, crafting, the new glaive, and everything else, I'm very excited for what's to come. So if you did enjoy this video, drop a like below. Leave a comment if you've got a thought, opinion about anything I posted in here. I've got a video coming out tomorrow. If you guys do watch that one, definitely drop any questions you've got in there. That's how you can level up as fast as possible in Witch Queen. So hit that subscribe button, hit that alert bell so you see that video. And to all of you out there in chat today and in future chats, because I'm going to be streaming a lot lately, I'll see you soon.